Welcome back, everybody. It is the Fandalorian Club here live on a Wednesday evening as we are diving in to the latest episode of The Mandalorian titled The Foundling. And my goodness, what an episode we have to talk about today. Us prequel babies are just beaming today. We are excited. And I got to say, Brian, what a perfect guest to have for this specific episode. Cannot wait to dive into this. How are you doing today, man?
Good. I was curious when we started booking people who was going to be the one that gets to land the coveted flashback Grogu reveal.
Yeah.
It seems to be Mr. Ace that swooped in and got this one. So, yeah, I'm good. This season, as the bells go, it's been fun. I literally, when I was done with this episode, went, damn it, that was like one of those episodes that like is made for Jake. Like it was like from the beginning, especially like, oh great, the kid's name's Ragnar. Jake likes Vikings. Oh, Bo-Katan's getting freaking new armor and stuff like this. Oh, she's being an absolute freaking badass. Like I'm just sitting there like,
my girl.
I know. That's why I'm like, dang it. And the freaking Mandalorians flying all over the place and just yeah. I love
it. It's a fever dream for us Mandalorian people who just have been waiting for have been waiting for this culture to be shown on screen like this. And this is only like the tip of the iceberg. But I'm so excited. We have two kind of parts we're going to break this into. Obviously, we have the major aspect of it with the flashback. Diving into everything that was revealed there. We finally know who rescued Grogu. And then we'll be diving into the Mandalorian aspect of with the armor and bow, and obviously everything with the Raptor and the Vizslas and stuff like that. So with all that said, let's go and bring our guest on. Very excited to have him on today. He is part of the First Cut channel on YouTube. He hosts a Block the Block.
One of the best named podcasts maybe in the history of ever.
And it's a very fun show. I'm lucky enough to have been a guest on the show before. It's a fantastic, positive outlook on Star Wars. He's also formerly an absolute haymaker in the Star Wars division of the Schmodown, and that is Mr. Ace Cabrera.
Yo, what is up, guys?
How you doing, man?
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us today, man. Super excited to have you on. I'm sure you're beaming to talk about this flashback and stuff just as much as we are. But before we do so, I do got to ask, just because we have had 3 episodes, how are you feeling about Mandalorian season 3 so far? Has it been your cup of tea?
It has, and that's actually what I'm drinking right now. Look at that.
Perfect.
I'm drinking tea. I made the switch to tea. But yes, it has, man. Obviously, the first episode was great, but the second episode just blew me away and really elevated the stakes and elevated the plot for everything that's happening. So I'm loving it. I really enjoyed the last episode as well. So I'm excited to talk about this one with you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so funny. I don't understand the hate around the last episode. Like, I get that it's changed away from like the main storyline, but I just don't get why people don't like it. The whole universe is weird, but anyway.
The people that are like, the story's not progressing fast enough, and I'm like, did you not just see people get blown out of the sky, raptors flying?
Yeah.
Like, come on, like, just enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into this. Look, we're gonna break this up in 2 parts. Like I said, we're gonna talk about the flashback sequence first because it is obviously the biggest part of this episode. But it's also the one thing that we've been waiting what seems like forever to talk about, and then we'll dive into everything with Din and Bo and the armor and everything. So Brian, I'm gonna let you kick off the flashback conversation here, and then Ace and I will jump in. We'll kind of just converse back and forth. Reactions to not just the flashback itself, but also learning who rescued Grogu and that it was played by our boy Ahmed Best.
I was like, damn, it's not Mace Windu. I
thought
stop
sure. It.
Yeah. No, I'm
stop
kidding.
it.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I know. I kind of held my breath once she started smacking the armor and you saw Grogu kind of just like dozing off, you're like,
Mhm.
oh, here we go. Like,
Yeah.
this is what we've been waiting for. I love the fact that it was, I don't care who you are, no one predicted that. No one. And if you say you did, you're a liar, because there's no one that thought the game show, like, that they
Would
put on
become canon,
would
essentially.
basically become canon, and that
Yeah.
the host be like arguably now one of the most important characters.
Mhm.
And it's not only played by someone that probably went through what is the worst Star Wars bullying in the history of all of the Star Wars. So, I mean, it's just kind of like, like you said, our prequel baby hearts exploded when it was like, oh my God, he's the one that's doing it.
I couldn't believe it. I could, and I didn't watch the show, so I didn't know who Kelleran was. I had no idea. Like, I heard the name, I was like, am I supposed to know who that is? You know, have we seen this person before? And I hadn't watched the show, so that's why. The second his face popped up, I lost it. I was like, no way are they doing this right now. It's so funny to think that all of those people who, for some reason, decided to bully him for a role that he was just told to play that way, first of all. But now we've come back around 20 plus years later, and he saved one of the most iconic Star Wars characters of all time in the story. It's wild. Like, and the double lightsaber thing and just everything about it is fantastic. We were curious as to why both Favreau and Filoni wrote the episode. We now know why. Filoni wrote the flashback, and it's perfect in every aspect. But yeah, Andres, I mean, take it away, man. What did you think about the reveal and everything about that flashback?
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. I can't deny it. It was definitely jarring when I first saw it. I can't deny that either. But there's something to be said. It's interesting because you guys are kind of touching on it right now about this idea that we're currently facing, hopefully in a more positive sense, of actors getting their, I don't know, retribution or getting their comeback. Like, we're thinking of the Oscars, Brendan Fraser and Ke-Huy Quan getting that opportunity to come back from also being kind of put to the side, chastised, whatever it is, from either the industry or from the fans. And we see obviously what happened with Hayden and Ewan with Obi-Wan last year, which was awesome. I thought it was awesome. But the opportunity, at least it's almost kind of like it's such a meta therapeutic show. And it's like a meta therapeutic moment that we're living now in Star Wars, where fans are able to have a therapy cry session by just experiencing this actor in a different role. And it's an opportunity to acknowledge the Star Wars family in a different way, which I really appreciate, to the point now that I think I don't think the prequel fans are, I don't think they've taken an L in 20 years.
For a while.
It's getting a little redundant. Like, I think we need a new championship. We need to distribute the power a little bit, because prequel fans are like back-to-back champions every year. But I really do feel like in that sense, it's a very important moment for Star Wars to acknowledge kind of low-key like their past mistakes of not, coming to their actors' defenses, which to me is the most basic thing you can do. It's really easy to do, and it helps a lot. So I'm glad that Ahmed has the opportunity to not only be a legend as Jar Jar Binks, but also as Kelleran.
And what a cool moment for him too, to obviously fight, or not fight, but be alongside so many actors that had wielded lightsabers in the prequels and be in those scenes. And now you fast forward to this time, and he is one of the few people who's wielding two lightsabers. It's a very rare thing to see,
like a boss,
and it's clear, like, he's clearly done this before, and it looked awesome. Question for the class though, because I am curious, and it's a funny way to think about it, but his friends from Naboo, it's got to be Jar Jar, right? It's got to be Jar Jar.
It's only one of two people.
Jar Jar's a senator, right? It's got to be Jar Jar. So
one of two.
Ahmed saved Ahmed, who saved Grogu.
It's either Padme or Jar Jar. Like that's
I-
the only two it could be.
I thought Padme, if I'm being honest. I didn't even consider Jar Jar just because of the Nubian yacht, the H type.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, Padme. I even thought like, I mean, I know it was like 0.5. It's not even a second, but still, my thought was there. I was like, Natalie.
So did I. Oh,
Because that's her ship. That was her ship from
Yeah.
Attack of the
Yeah.
Clones. Like
Yeah.
she even flies it and everything.
Yeah, I thought the same. I was like, no way did they get her to come back, and it was no way. But
Yeah, no way.
yeah, and so I just immediately assumed, oh, that was her. She saw the temple burning, and probably was like, go help them, and then that just happened to be what her ship helped. One of the most important.
It's definitely going to be a fun like theory just to kind of put out there because we're never going to know. You know, it's a question that's going to be left into the ether as far as who's safe. And as Star Wars fans, obviously we dive way too much into everything, so the question is out there now of who is his Naboo
so that we
friend.
can do that.
Yeah,
Like
that's my point.
That was a choice.
Yeah,
You
Dave
could
Filoni
have
knew
done
exactly what he was doing.
anything.
Yeah.
Anything. You could have put a Joe Schmoed ship there, but no, you went with that ship with those guards, and it's just like, I see you. I see you. You're smart.
100%.
I just think it was so cool that they did that. And I think it was, who was it? Variety put out like he's getting his redemption arc. And I'm like, he's not getting a redemption arc. Star Wars is apologizing, if anything. Star Wars is the one that's getting their redemption for the way they treated him by putting him, hey, we let you get dragged through the mud. You get to be one of the most important characters now. Like, he's not redeeming anything. Like you said, he was told, play this character, and that's what he did. And he got dragged through the mud horribly. So he's not redeeming himself. Star Wars is redeeming themselves by letting him get to do this cool part. So that pissed me off when I saw it.
I feel like it also kind of invites man, I'm getting too much. This might be too big of a conversation for a fun Mandalorian.
No, you're good.
Episode.
Go for it.
It kind of invites the conversation as far as how quickly Lucasfilm should have been on top of this, right? And I know it's a different era. I know it's 1999, but still, looking back at it, you're right. I 100% agree. I really do feel like this is like on the low, kind of a PR move where Star Wars is like, we should have done this, so we're gonna do it now, so we can make ourselves look better because we should have never abandoned this actor. And now I kind of think as far as like what fandoms should be doing now, or what companies should be doing for their own fandoms, whether it's Marvel or DC or Star Wars, and how they should be jumping in right now, currently, with certain stuff going on. Much tougher. Instead of like in 20 years, we're going to see, I don't know, Kelly Marie Tran doing something. Like maybe not wait 20 years. Maybe we should do that now. And maybe, I don't know, Brie Larson or anyone else who's going through crap at Marvel and they kind of stayed quiet with that. Maybe we should, try and speak up a little bit more if I'm an employee of Marvel, if I'm on the PR team or something.
Yeah.
It's smart.
It's a great conversation to have. I would much rather not wait 20, 25 years to see someone like Ahmed Best get another chance at cracking it. So
there are some that immediately come to mind, like Ahmed Best, like Hayden Christensen, like Kelly Marie Tran. Like there are people that like immediately, yes, you're just like those people.
I mean, and Maddie put it in the chat, but Moses Ingram went through it last year through Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I mean, she was my favorite character in the whole entire show. So it's like it's gross. So it's nice to see. and who knows? Maybe it was more. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more like a Filoni thing. Like, hey, I want to do this. Like he was the leading force behind it. Because like companies, unfortunately, just don't care as long as they're making money for the most part. So whoever's idea it was, which I would assume would be Favreau Filoni combo, it was something that was long overdue, and it's nice seeing it. Because the one thing I saw all over Twitter was just like, oh, my heart exploded seeing him. It's so great to see him get his due. Like, just everyone was just happy to see him. Like, and that I'm sure means the world to him after the crap he went through.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, it was a dope ass scene too. Give me all the Order 66 flashbacks. That
we don't need too much.
I wasn't done. I wasn't done. I said the Order 66 scenes. Yes, the 4 Jedi got murked in the beginning.
Yeah, we saw 4 Jedi just die. So.
But he did was a badass and made it out of there. So it was like I'll take what I can get with this.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Kelleran survived, which is very cool. Chance of possibly seeing him in the future if we get more flashbacks with Grogu. Seeing where he drops Grogu off or what happens, but there's always a chance there, which is super cool. But yeah, the inevitable flashback has arrived. I think it was very successful. I think it lived up to the hype. Big surprises, great action. But if we're good talking on the flashback, let's go and shift gears to the Mandalorian side of it, because we got some really, really cool stuff with the Mandalorian, and everything going on with the convert as far as the armor and bow. It's very focused on the foundlings, as the episode title says. Multiple foundlings, Grogu and Ragnar. I'm going to keep saying it, Brian. Ragnar, who we learned that is Paz Vizsla's actual son, not just a foundling, but actual son, which is a very cool, touching thing there to learn. We see Grogu use some powers here in a one-on-one combat, which I got to be honest, I don't know if Din was the smartest in that situation, just throwing Grogu in there to fight against a foundling who clearly knew what he was doing. Ended up working out. I'm glad the darts were just paintball, essentially. Doesn't hurt him too much. But it was very cool to see Grogu kind of just unlock himself after Din gave him the okay to, obviously leading himself towards becoming a Mandalorian at some point. So, Ace, take it away, man. Right up until this point where we saw the foundling taken away by the Raptor, what did you think about everything with that opening sequence?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I think this is where this is leading, right? The idea of Grogu in tiny, itty-bitty Mandalorian armor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as silly as that sounds, it'd also be kind of badass. And it's interesting because the idea of using your speed and agility, just like obviously Yoda does, to battle and to use a blaster. Like I could see him with like a little mini blaster and just going ham, and flipping around like crazy. So I think it works, and I think it's absolutely what needs to be done. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a, at heart I'm a tough parrot, even though I'm not a parrot. But sometimes you got to learn how to run instead of walk, or rock before you run, or swim, whatever the line is. Sometimes you got to try it and just be like, you just jump in and we'll see if you can float. And that's why I kind of like that scene where they're like, he's too small, and he's like, I'm his dad. I said it's okay.
I also love that Bo being like more hard ass of the two of them is like, are you sure this is okay?
Yeah. But I feel like it works, and I feel like it's eventually leading, hopefully, to Grogu learning. And this is something that I talked about on Sabak the Block, but that's my one gripe is like, I want Grogu to learn. Like I want him to grow. This is the point of a child, is for them to experience and to learn and to grow. And eventually we can have a Grogu who's cognizant, a little bit more cognizant, a little less kind of like doughy-eyed and, lost. Yeah. So I'm glad we're heading there.
Yeah, I mean, if he had been going through Jedi training as a youngling, he's very capable of doing something like this. So yeah, it was really cool to see. It was also just a lot of fun. It's that playful side of the show, but also very meaningful. Brian, what about you? What'd you think?
I mean, I loved it. I love that they are leaning hard into like he's gonna be a Mandalorian. Like it's yes, he had that Jedi stuff in his past, but that's not his future. His future is a Mandalorian. And seeing this little like thing just walk around and then like just like here you go shoot the other kid. And he's just like, are you serious? Like he gives him the look like, what are you doing? Like, and then just shoots him 3 times. I love it because even the armorer was just kind of like, he's capable of this stuff, and I love what they're doing. It the more and more each episode so far this season specifically, the Mandalorian name, the title is absolutely a double entendre with Din and Grogu. I don't think it's very
and Bo.
But I'm saying like when we went into like the show's called The Mandalorian and you see Din and you're like, oh, it's about that guy. I think it's about both of them, both being the Mandalorian. So, and the more and more they keep doing stuff, especially with Grogu, I'm like, that name, that title is a double-edged sword right there. So, but I love it. I love that they are not shying away from him actually doing things. So, yeah, I freaking love it.
Yeah,
I
think
Ragnar's going to be a punk. I can't wait. Like
probably
his rival, if you will.
Unless now that's kind of squashed with the way Din saved him. Because Din did save him at the end of the episode. So, yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great, and I think that it's also very important to do stuff like this, not just to see it, but also for those who are still kind of curious about his Force abilities and when he'll wield a lightsaber. I don't know if Grogu will ever wield a lightsaber. He's going to be a Mandalorian, and he locked that box and dug a deep hole for it when he denied Luke Skywalker the training and took the route of joining his father again in the Book of Boba Fett. So it's very important that we see this type of stuff because it's just, showing those people again, hey, this is what's happening. We're doing this. Grogu is going to be on this side of things rather than training to be a Jedi, training to be the future with Luke Skywalker, etc. He's taking the route of his father and Bo and everybody, all these other Mandalorians that we're seeing throughout the entire series, which I think is really, really cool.
And it was so cute when he got shot twice and he's just like, man. Just like...
the puppetry for Grogu is off the charts.
Yeah, it's almost better, right?
It is.
I feel like it's better.
It's so much more mobile this season, and because he's growing, obviously, so maybe they have to. But just like even when I see him walk, even though it's like funny and cute, like he's still moving in the way that I would imagine him to move.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I noticed his walk a lot more in this episode where I was like, okay, he's kind of picking up the pace. It's not really like the most over exaggerated waddle. It's more like a little sturdy march. And I was like, oh, I feel like they stepped that up. I feel like it's a lot better.
I was going to say when the armorer was like, if you want to be a Mandalorian, you have a lot to learn. And then she walks away. I'm like, girl, you're going to be waiting for a long time. Yeah. You might want to pick him up if you want to get this going.
I love when she goes, come Grogu. Like, and she said it multiple times. And I'm just like, oh, yeah. The way she talks is just, I love it.
I love the way she talks. And Emily Swallow just kills it. She's incredible. This is character. I can't wait to see that character fleshed out more because I know it's coming. I know
this episode made me like her, like as a person.
And that's what they're trying to do that because it's going to go sour.
Like, not doing that.
It's 100% going to go sour.
Can I hear your guys' prediction? And I know we might be jumping, or I might be.
No, go ahead. I'm all for it.
What is your guys' prediction? Because I feel like mine after this episode is just going down the drain. I'm nervous if I'm being with you, because I feel like the more episodes go along, and if I'm being honest, I do have some gripes with this episode because of that, exactly what I'm about to say. But I just am slightly confused where things are going. As far as like, are we supposed to be cool with everything? Yeah, is everything cool?
I've been on board
how
all season. Oh, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
No, I just think they're doing what you would expect someone being brought into a cult would be like, where you're just like, I don't know
100%.
about this. And then all of a sudden things are happening where you're like, oh, well, this isn't too bad. Like, these people seem really cool. And then sooner or later you realize, like, I'm in a cult and this isn't good. And like, this shouldn't be happening. I think they're making you like the cult, like you're going through those stages. Because I mean, how many times did Bo say like they are a cult, they are bad, blah blah blah, and then now you get to it and you're like, well, this isn't that bad. But that is how many people that have go into cults end up going like, oh, this is really great, and then by the end of it, hopefully they're like, this is really bad. So yeah,
I've been on board pretty much the entire time of she is pretty much the main nemesis. Like she's the ultimate bad guy for Din. And I don't know when that's coming. They're definitely making us like her, just like we liked her in season 1. Loved her in season 1. Season 2, I'm like, ooh, they're setting her up to be something. And season 3, I'm like, yeah, I need them to go all in, but they're taking their time, which is fine, because when that turn does happen, it's going to be much more impactful. Now, what I originally thought was, oh, it's going to be Din versus the Armorer. Din is going to eventually find his way and realize that this isn't actually the thing that he needs to be doing. I don't know if Din is ever going to actually get there. What I now think is going to happen is that it's going to be Bo versus the Armorer. I think she is 100% like the eyes we're going to see through the show of everything happening, of the turning against the Armorer and her cult. And I was going to bring this up at some point, but I'll bring it up now. And I don't know if you two have been paying attention to it or seen it on social media, but I've been blatantly looking for this every episode. Every single episode ends with Bo. She's the final shot of every episode. She's also the start of 2 of the 4 episodes. They're setting her up to be something. I don't know if it's the leader, if it's the next Mandalore, whatever. But she obviously plays a much larger role than I think we originally thought when the season started, especially after this one. And the whole Mythosaur thing, I don't know if she should have told the Armorer that. That's very interesting. Maybe she's playing a little bit of a game because she obviously knows. Like, look, she had run-ins with Vizslas in the past, right? With the Watch back in the Clone Wars days. She knows what they're all about. I don't know if the Armorer and the people there know what Bo-Katan has been through. So she might be able to hide herself a little bit more as far as her past and like the Children of the Watch and kind of the things that she's gone through. But I do think that she's going to be the main bad guy, the Armorer, at some point. I think the turn is going to happen, and it may come after Bo and Din help her build her army up. And then it happens. And maybe it happens like now that Bo told her about the Mythosaur. Maybe she finally takes it and says, okay, I'm going for it. Like, Din already went to Mandalore. It's not poisoned anymore, right? It's not, you can go on the planet. So they know that. Bo just said that she saw a Mythosaur. She knows that. And she knows who has the Darksaber. So she has a lot of information, even though she doesn't have it herself. It's grade A cultist, 100%. So
Can I ask a tough question
Sure.
for you guys? And again, maybe this is just, I don't know.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
Taking over.
I love it.
Go for it.
I'm ruining your
it.
show.
No, I love it. I get tired.
Do you think, especially in the world we live in now, with audiences and media literacy being basically dead, do you think the show is doing enough to clarify that this is sketchy? Because I don't. I
No, I
don't
don't think so.
think. I think
I don't
it's.
think so.
I think everyone is rooting for this cult. Everyone is
Mhm.
rooting for the armorer, and I think when the turn happens, I think a lot of people are gonna be like, "The armorer was right." Hashtag the armorer, team armorer.
I agree.
Everyone
I
should
agree.
join a cult because cults are awesome, and whatever it is, like righteousness and morality and whatever BS they might preach. I feel like the show is not really doing a clear enough job for us to be sketched out a lot more, which we should be, right? Like
I agree.
I don't know. This is just my gripe from this last episode.
You
Where
want
I
to
No,
was
go
like,
first?
we should
yeah,
feel some ick at this point.
I definitely agree. I think that at this point, with how much we've seen her and how much we've seen that group, it should definitely feel a little bit more eerie than it does. Like, I think us knowing the history of Star Wars, specifically the Children of the Watch, you know, all that stuff with the Mandalorians because of the Clone Wars and everything, we know because of that history. We know like what it's kind of based on. And the people who never met Bo before season 2, when she said, "Oh, they're a bunch of cultists, etc. Taking off your helmet is the Mandalorian way, whatever." They aren't going to know that because they haven't seen that before. So they do need to kind of plant seeds a little bit more to make sure people realize, okay, well, maybe Din isn't on the right path because he's very obsessed with this path. And we know this again as Star Wars fan. Like, I just want to like sometimes just slap him across the helmet because the dude clearly doesn't know what he wants or what he needs. And I think Bo will eventually be the light at the end of the tunnel for him. But I do agree that right now it seems like they're the heroic party that rescued Din and Bo from being individual, isolated in the galaxy, and now they're a part of a family. When that family really isn't a best family to be a part of. So
I think they're taking their time with it. Personally, I think I would not be surprised if you didn't start getting like that ick feeling till like the end of this season, and then like next season is when it's like, okay, like they need to be taken down. Like they're like, I think this is, we're still in this, from what I'm getting, we're still in the like, oh, cool, they're Mandalorians. Like, we haven't seen a group of them all around all the time. Oh, look, they're cool. They're doing like this stuff. And then something's going to start happening where you're just like, I don't know if I agree with that. And then it's like even worse. Like, something is going to turn where you're just like, oh, that's not okay. Like, I don't know, something as bad as like, oh, go murder all those kids. Like what's the little baby Jedi Padawans, the younglings.
oh yeah, the younglings.
Where you're just gonna be like, what are they doing? Like that type of thing. I think for me, they're still trying to make you like, they're gonna put you in love with them and then rip you out. I think. Personally.
I think that's what's going to happen is that right now it's like everyone's on a super high. Like we're at the top of the peak. We're all riding high. Din has been redeemed, right? Bo is a part of it. She's kind of found her way. And then they're going to just rip your heart out without any kind of trace of anything. Because if you look back on it, every time we've seen the Armorer, it's been for good, right? Like season 1, she knocked around some stormtroopers, helped Din out, do his thing, told him, you know, your mission is to save Grogu, take him back to his people or his planet, whatever it was. Like that was your thing. Then she helped him with the Darksaber, right? Didn't ever try to take it from him. She was helping him train with it, kind of giving him information about it. But then when he takes his helmet off, she says, okay, well, you have to be redeemed. You're not Mandalorian anymore, which is just part of their thing. So she hasn't done anything wrong up to this point.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hard fall. Like when it does happen, it's going to be a very hard fall.
Kind of going off that, to your point, Brian, the idea of her being so, I'm thinking back even on season 1, gung-ho about Grogu, right? The fact that she was like, no, this is your responsibility, protect this child. Like it really makes you like her. And it almost makes you feel like, I don't think she would be capable of murdering little kids the way she's fighting for foundlings and fighting for young
I don't think she's
children.
gonna murder little
No,
kids.
I know, but I'm saying like it's just
She's
there's not
gonna
a
walk
lot to
around with
me.
a hammer and just start.
There's not a lot she can do, in my opinion, to kind of make people kind of throw audiences off. The majority of audiences,
Yeah.
at least I feel like I'm telling you guys, like you guys are on Twitter. Media literacy is dead. Like Homelander's the good guy.
Yes,
Like
100%.
Omni-Man is awesome. Like
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
the kind of world we live in where
I
people
agree.
can't read it when it's in your face.
Yeah.
100%.
And now it's like this is beyond not in your face. It's almost to the point that it's so subtle that very few people can pick up on it unless you have kind of like almost a traumatic religious background. That's kind of the only way you can pick up on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But this idea of like Dane's a great guy, he grew up super religious. Everyone should grow up super religious. Like that's kind of the message I'm getting so far.
Yeah.
100% he is. And
yeah.
he's brainwashed himself, and he has
Yeah.
been from the very beginning, and he just can't get it out. And it
Yeah.
like I need Bo to just take her helmet off and smack him across the head.
Yeah.
Because
It's gonna
this dude needs to learn really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be something like a solid punch to the face of like, okay, that's not
Like maybe she does something to Grogu that Din's not obviously a fan of, or
I don't think she's gonna get her hands dirty. I think she's gonna tell someone to do something.
yeah, like
then,
Paz. Paz is
yeah,
kind of the
and then
henchman,
they
yeah.
do it, and then Din's like, you shouldn't be telling people to do this. Like something like, I don't think she's ever gonna get her hands physically dirty. Like she seems too smart to make that type of move.
Yeah, it's
So
possible.
Can I throw one last curveball?
Of course.
Just
I love
one
it. Just keep
Shohei
it coming,
Ohtani.
Ace.
I
love
know,
it.
it's
I
fun.
love it.
Just fastball, whatever baseball reference. What if they don't?
Then great.
What if this entire 4 seasons, like this is a triumphant watch and the real bad guy is what's her face? Elia Kane, is that her name?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
she's like the new Moff Gideon and she assembles the stormtroopers and it's this, and then it's the armor and Din versus crazy Elia Kane? Like it's what if it just that's the season and Bo stays with her helmet on forever. And that's what we get for a season, and then she rides a mythosaur into battle or something.
See, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Because if it is, then I'm gonna raise my eyebrow very high, and I'm gonna.
Yeah,
be very vocal
I'm with
about
I
it.
would
you.
be
I
shocked.
I don't like. I don't. That's not what I want. Like
I don't either. Yeah.
I don't. And maybe it's just me because I talk about it every week, but I'm a Mandalorian freak for this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I love seeing Din fight against Gideon and the Dark Troopers and fight some Stormtroopers and all that type of stuff. But I want to see Mandalorian versus Mandalorian. Like that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
And we've had enough of the Din versus the Imperial side of things, or bad guys in that sense. It's now time to get to the culture aspect of the tribes of Mandalore and the people of Mandalore, the different ways of Mandalore, whether good or bad. And I think that hopefully that's the direction we're heading. If they went a different route, I wouldn't be a fan of it at first. I would raise my eyebrow very high like you, Ace, but I would also I would keep an open mind onto what they're saying and telling, just because that's what I try to do best, and I love the show. But I want it Mandalorian versus Mandalorian. Like the show to me, the idea of the show, when you look at it, is all about bringing the Mandalorian people back to what they once were. And if you don't tell that story where it's Mandalorian versus Mandalorian, then it doesn't really make sense to me if you don't have that.
So I'll play devil's advocate against what you were saying, Jake, only for the sense of I could see them spinning this. Now, I don't, if this is lower in my thoughts of what's going to happen, but I could definitely see them spinning it as Mandalore and Mandalorians, I mean, Bo said it, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, the Mandalorians' biggest fault was they were always fighting each other, leaving them weak.
Mhm.
So I would not be surprised if we see like a united front of the Mandalorians to finally stop the Empire and just kind of realizing like, hey, we're always going to have different ideas of what is right, but at the end of the day, like, we're all still Mandalorian and we can coexist in the same place, just different. Kind of like like how I think of it is like how in Black Panther, like Wakanda, they have like the different subsections. Like, we're all still Wakandans, but we have different little sections. But at the end of the day, we're all still one country. I could see them spinning that. That's something I could see them doing.
And fighting the Empire, you're saying?
Yes. And finally just being like, stop Empire, stop effing with us, because we're not going to get pushed over anymore.
So the only reason why I will disagree, the only reason, and we didn't actually see it, but they did that in Rebels, where Bo took the Darksaber and the clans of Mandalore came together and fought the Empire and failed.
Yeah.
That is the only reason why I say they probably, like, they might not do it. But I could definitely see a case where the clans of Mandalore come together and they find a new way of like a Mandalorian culture that they had never done before, because clearly it hasn't worked in the past.
Yeah.
And maybe at that point the Empire is gone, because we know in like Star Wars canon, I'll put up quotations, the Empire at some point disappears. It disappears at some point. We don't know when, how long. We know that at least a large chunk of it goes away. So at some point, depending on how long this show goes, the Imperial side of it does have to go away. Like, it does have to kind of just slightly disappear over time, because there is a big gap in Star Wars where the Empire isn't around. They're off in wild space, deep space, whatever. Then the First Order comes back. Of course, there's remnants and people who still support it, but there's not fleets and giant aspects. And I know that the whole Thrawn and Ahsoka thing can come up. That's fine. But
yeah, but even Thrawn wasn't like the overruling emperor at the time, probably. Like,
well, the only reason I said that is because of the fleet in episode 2, that we saw attack Din and Bo.
Yeah.
So there is still obviously Imperial threats out there, big ones.
Yeah.
But at some point, I don't want 4 or 5 seasons of the Mandalorians versus the Empire.
Yeah.
I want to see the innards of how the clans of Mandalore operate if they're fighting each other, like the politics and the battles and the strategy and who thinks they're right, who thinks they're wrong. Like, just, I want to see that. I don't need to see them fighting the Empire for 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Just me personally.
Episode 2 kind of implied that too. At least to me, that was
Yeah.
the implication I got. And then episode 3, obviously, with, like I said before, Laia Kane, we don't know what's going to happen there. There's also the potential of a crossover with the Ahsoka season 1 show, which we know Sabine's going to be in, and we know Sabine is like a legend. So yeah, I'm sure they have a plan. I'm sure it's great. I'm sorry for questioning it, but
No, you're fine.
I have to do
fine.
it.
No, I mean,
that's exactly what this is for.
Yeah, there's so many avenues that they can go down this that we just don't see right now. Like, as plain as it is.
And Andy, just so you know, I just use fleet as a loose term. I know it wasn't a fleet. He's always correcting us in the chat. Just always correcting
Not us.
Goodness. Oh, he's corrected you multiple times too. Don't worry, Brian.
Never.
All right. I actually, off that real quick, Ace, because I got to ask, because I know you're a major fan of her. Do you think Sabine is showing up in this show at some point?
Yes.
This season.
This season, I think it's finale. I think it's going to be the Luke Skywalker moment. It's going to be Sabine. I mean, think about it. I was talking to RB3 about this. They already have the actress. They cast her forever ago.
100%.
There's no way they've announced the actress for Sabine, but not Hera. even though
Mhm.
they're in the same show, right? At least not officially confirmed for Hera.
Oh, we know who it is, Brian, don't we? My
Yeah.
girl. My
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not official, right? She came out of
I
Star
know,
Wars
I know.
Celebration, and
Yeah.
you know,
I'm gonna be
and the-
so disappointed if it's not her because my mind is like made up.
yeah, I'm the same way. But still, like the fact that she was at Star Wars Celebration
Yeah.
last year,
Yeah.
there's no way she's not at least in the finale. I mean, she is a Mandalorian. Yeah, I would love it, and I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
that
Me too.
yeah, that has to be the kick off of the Ahsoka show. It's,
Yeah, they gotta have like a little teaser, like a little gateway,
Yeah. Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep, they
just
did it
make-
with Boba Fett, so
Yeah.
Yes, good comparison.
All right. Last thing we can talk about here is the final kind of action sequence we got with the Raptor, the
Oh,
Mandalorians in the jetpack, Paz Vizsla in the mouth with Ragnar in the claws, and then the ultimate alligator beast devouring the Raptor. Look, I'm just gonna say it quickly, and I'll try to be quiet about it, but I love Mandalorian action. And this is one of the best sequences we ever got with the Mandalorians, obviously. First of all, I didn't know they can run out of fuel. Never seen that before. Awesome touch. But just great stuff. Just incredible stuff. I love that Din was the one to kind of solidify it at the very end, like the final calling card. And, Bo doing her thing. And just, it's just fantastic. I love this about Star Wars so much. It just makes me so giddy. Wednesdays are awesome. Wednesdays are so freaking cool because Mandalorian action and Mandalorian is on. It's a great time. It's a really good time.
Go ahead, Ace. What do you think?
yeah, I mean, I can't lie. The first thing I thought was like, damn, like it's almost like this divine, intervention of these creatures who are like traveling 100 miles to screw with these Mandalorians. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is the second time they're attacked by a giant creature.
Thank you. Thank you. I
What
literally
is
was
happening?
I literally was screaming at the TV going, get away from the water. Get away. Every single time someone's like, I'm going to go fishing. And then something comes and just
They were
takes
they were practicing aim by just shooting at the water.
100%.
But is it like, I don't know, is it like, I don't know, the Force being like, you guys are doing this all wrong. I'm going to show you guys by sending these creatures to attack you.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like some sort of like divine Force
Yeah.
intervention where these creatures are like fed up with these Mandalorians and their BS.
Yeah.
So
They're like, give us some peace. Like, stop shooting into the water.
Yeah, Gordon's asking the real questions. Why are they still on this planet?
That's what I was
why are they
thinking.
still
I'm
there?
like, can you move away from maybe go to the other side of the cave? This clearly isn't a good spot.
It's a
Children
hostile
are getting
planet.
picked off like
Yeah.
no one's business.
yeah, they said it's happened before too, and they're still there.
Yeah, we saw the Mandalorian helmet in the nest of the Raptor.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which
It's-
is wild, but
Eh. They're like, this is the way. Whatever.
But
Like,
even
no.
was it Vizsla that said like, damn, he traveled like a long way.
yeah.
I was like, is that I think that's a bad omen, bro.
Yeah.
That's a bad
Seriously.
sign.
I
Yeah.
was laughing so hard at Paz scaling the cliffside.
Oh,
this
hey, he had to be
big-ass
so heavy.
guy,
He had to be so heavy.
And then the guns just there. I'm like,
Mhm.
dude, that has to be like a solid ton that this
Yeah.
man is just trying to. He's just on this little string, and I'm like, leave the gun on the ground. And
Yeah.
just take a second. Like, you guys said you're not going to shoot on the top. Don't bring it. Like, you don't need to climb it. But yeah, no, I love the action scenes are just like top notch every time, especially when it's
So good.
like purely Mandalorians fighting.
So good.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
All right, one last thing. We got to talk about the ending sequence. Bo
Mhm.
getting a new shoulder plate with the mythosaur on it. Could have meaning, could not have meaning.
Two people got plates.
Well, yes, Grogu got his little chest plate. His
Which-
little bulletproof
I'm
breastguard.
so glad she said you'll grow into it, because I sat there and I was like, that thing is way too big for him. Like she messed up his sizes.
Yeah. But the bow one is very interesting. We talked about it a little bit earlier that she revealed that she saw the mythosaur. Whether or not the armor believes her, at first said, "Oh, it's lucky to have a vision of the mythosaur." and then she kind of solidifies it was actually real, and she just responds simply by saying, "This is the way." Very curious on where that leads, gentlemen. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I mean, sky's the limit, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I thought it was kind of funny the way she responded too, though. It definitely felt like a little kid kind of moment where like, "Daddy, I swear," and he's like, "That's cute, son. That's very nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice."
Yeah.
She kept like reassuring her in a
Mhm.
very like polite way, but it was still kind of like a subtle diss of like,
Yeah.
"That's nice. You know, that's beautiful. Isn't that beautiful?" Yeah. I thought that was interesting, but also the idea of like they're heavily teasing the potential of Bo, I don't know, taming a mythosaur potentially,
Yeah.
riding it into battle. But then I thought of what Brian was saying. The show is called The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian could be about Grogu. What
Mhm.
if we know Grogu has a connection to animals?
Yep.
What if tiny itty bitty Grogu on top of a giant mythosaur?
That'd be wild.
I never have once thought about just him just
Yeah.
being like, and just the same dragons flying around.
Yeah. I mean, he has a connection to creatures.
You're
so-
100%.
Well, we saw him
right.
tame the Rancor, so we
Yeah.
saw it.
I mean, he literally is the one that tamed their signet. That is
Yeah, and the
also-
Mudhorn. You're right. The Mudhorn.
Yeah.
I don't know if he tamed more than picked up. And
Well,
picked it
I
up.
mean, he
Yeah.
stopped it from
Yeah.
killing people.
Yeah.
So,
it's very interesting. It is very, very interesting.
yeah. Did anyone think she was going to take the Mudhorn for a second before they panned to the Mythosaurus skull? I was like, is she going to say she's a part of his clan now?
It crossed my mind, but she was looking at the skull.
Yeah.
So
I just took a second. I was like, oh,
it would have been
no.
very cool if she took the Mudhorn, but I don't know if Bo. I think we still have a ways to go for Bo to maybe not lead a clan, but co-lead a clan. Which I do think her and Din will probably do together. But
100%.
we still have a ways to go with her character to get there.
Yeah, and I loved the armor saying like, "Oh, do you want another night owl?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
you're even just saying night owl was cool.
So cool. So
I know.
cool.
So I love anytime there's like new armor or like stuff like that. You're just like, yeah. Also, where is she getting it from? Like they always seem to be like, we need more, and it's always like, here, you want another piece? I'll make it for you. Okay.
All right, Ace. Well, one last question for you specifically, because you're gonna only be on this one episode. What do you hope to see the rest of the season? Whether it be with the characters, hello, Ray. Whether it be with the story, anything specific that you would like to see the rest of season 3?
Yes, I think I hinted heavily at what I want to see. I definitely want to see questions being arisen about the Watch. And questions being arisen about this entire system that's been going on. The fact that, and I didn't mention this, the fact that the first episode of this season is called The Apostate is such a strong word for anyone who's ever been involved with religion. It, to me, is just a clear indication of like, wait a damn minute, this ain't right. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
As far as making people feel that kind of shame and that kind of destruction inside their soul. As a traitor to their own faith and culture. Like that's such a devastating thing to do for just removing your helmet. So I really hope they address that at some point in the season. And then obviously some sort of internal conflict eventually leading to whether it's a compromise or a defeat. It doesn't really matter to me. And then again, at the very end, hopefully, fingers crossed, Sabine shows up. So yeah.
All right. Cool deal. Well, that's going to wrap it up today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for sticking around, hanging out, and talking The Mandalorian with us. Before we get out of here, Ace, I want to let the good people know where they can find you online. Go and fire it off. Where can people find you online, man?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Squad Leader Ace, and then on YouTube at First Cut, and on TikTok at First Cut TMO.
All links are in the description. They are all down there, so everybody go check that out. Go follow Ace. He puts out some incredible content, as well as the First Cut crew. You guys are awesome, especially Sabak the Block, which, again, one of the best Star Wars name shows out there. So, again, man, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Guys, everyone watching, we appreciate you all again. We'll be back next Wednesday for our live Mandalorian discussion, as well as tomorrow morning our Bad Batch review comes out. So make sure you check that out. And then all of our links in the description below. So again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.